Grab your beverages and turn up your interweb. Solving the world's problems 12 ounces at a time. It's Dudes and Beer.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 189 of the Dudes and Beer podcast. I am Chris Jordan, your host, and with me tonight is our good friend and host of Come and Talk It here in the Austin, Texas area on 590 AM. Also owner of Central Texas Gunworks and member of the Log Cabin Republicans, our good friend Michael Cargill. How are you this evening, Michael?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. We're no longer on 590.
Oh,
that's right. That's right. We're no longer on 997, so we don't even want to say those words anymore.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me be the one to get you in trouble.
That's okay. No. We're now we're actually on 4 radio stations.
Okay,
than just 2 stations now. So we branched out a little bit. We're actually back on 1370 AM, which I like 1370 better anyway. 1370 has the just a beautiful view of like downtown Austin. So when you're in that studio, we're sitting on a mountain in Westlake, and we actually can see, downtown. It's a very nice view there, and other than being in another station, being in a dungeon, you don't even see what's going on in the outside world.
Hey,
I know, right? Like you're in a dungeon right now.
I'm trying to get like a nice picture, maybe just
get a picture so you can see downtown.
Yeah, some nice live camera to outside on my TV screen.
Absolutely.
But one of the reasons I had you on tonight was, of course, the ongoing issue with the silencing of media. People trying to silence media. People trying to even tell you what you can and can't say on your show that you were bringing to a station as a client. Not only that, but the silencing of media when it comes to calling out our police, when it comes to trying to expose corruption, trying to root out some of these issues. I guess before we get into the airwaves and things like that, let's get a little bit into the criminality that you were calling out with the Austin Police Department that I think really was the crux and the start of a lot of this.
Right. And see, first of all, I'm not anti-law enforcement.
No.
I'm actually pro-law enforcement. I do think that we need a law enforcement presence. And actually, if we can pull up my page so that way I can see any comments or anything like that, that'll be really cool.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
So I'm actually pro-law enforcement. I believe that we do need a law enforcement presence, and that, without law enforcement, that would be just chaos, I think, because not everyone believes in a firearm. Not everyone believes in their own personal protection. So we do need law enforcement there to pick up the slack when it comes to that stuff.
Sure.
And there are just times that it's easier to contact a police officer to handle a certain situation than you handling that situation yourself. Because the police officer, they have a little more tools than what you have. So in that sense, I do support our law enforcement, but I'm also for accountability.
Yeah.
I also believe that we do need police accountability. We need to make sure that, our police officers should be held to a much higher standard because, commercial drivers, truck drivers.
Yes.
We hold commercial drivers, truck drivers to the very high standard. They have a commercial driver's license. That means that if they get a ticket, speeding ticket, a seatbelt ticket, whatever, they cannot take defensive driving.
Yeah.
In order to get that removed, just like you can. If you have a regular driver's license, you can take defensive driving. You can get that removed from your license. But as a commercial driver, you cannot because you are a professional driver and you're held to a much higher standard. And so we need to do the same thing for our law enforcement officers. Because you're a police officer, you know better. You should be held to a much higher standard as a police officer. And so police officers shouldn't be in situations where you're in a strip club, a nightclub. You're in a titty bar. You shouldn't be in a titty bar as a senior commander of the Austin Police Department. So, just, little things like that. And those are some of the things that I touched on. And someone brought a story to me and they said, hey, Mike, we have this issue with this senior member of the Austin Police Department. And I said, yeah, well, what is it? You guys just, really upset with law enforcement. What's really going on? And they said, no, this is not the issue at all. There's this serious problem with this, this senior commander. And I said, okay, well, what's this person? I didn't even know who it was, to be honest with you. I had to ask them a bunch of questions about it. Okay, well, what's this person? And he said, they said, this is Commander Dusterhoff. I said, okay, who is that? I never heard the guy before in my life. And so they started telling me about him. I was like, okay, so what's the big deal? Well, they told me that at one time he was the assistant police chief.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, for the Austin Police Department. I said, okay, so he was assistant police chief. How did he become a commander? They said, well, he was demoted. I said, okay, well, that's serious, and then so we started looking into that. I'm like, okay, something's funky about this. This guy was demoted from being an assistant police chief, my personal page, to commander. And so that, to me, that's pretty serious. And so then I started asking more questions, and they started telling me more. And they said, well, hey, this guy was allegedly at a strip club, and I'm like, I said, okay, now that's kind of odd because, the police department, I've been to Austin Police Department graduations.
Yeah.
I've seen different, training at the Austin Police Department facility, out in what, west of Austin.
Yeah.
And so I know the type of training that they instill in their officers and stuff like that. And one of their slogans is I care.
Okay.
And it says, hey, I care. And it stands for integrity, courage, accountable, respect, and ethical. And it's like integrity. The cornerstone of police work. Without it, public trust is lost. It says courage to make the right professional decision. Then it says accountable to the community, the department, and to coworkers. Then it says respect of the community, the department, and most importantly, self. And then it says ethical, professional actions and decision making.
Yeah.
And to me, it's not being ethical as a senior member of the Austin Police Department, a commander. You're saying that, hey, it's okay for police officers to be in strip clubs.
Yeah.
That may be fine and dandy for a regular citizen or someone else, but you're a senior member of the Austin Police Department.
Yeah.
You're supposed to instill these things here in your subordinates. How can you do that if you're hanging in a strip club?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to get morally high and mighty. I've been to them. I've frequented them.
Hey, I was at one last night.
I've had dancers,
but I'm not a police officer.
and granted, at one point in life, I was an assistant youth minister, things like that. Didn't really go to that kind of stuff whenever I was assistant youth minister.
But you would be upset if your pastor was at a strip club.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would that not be a problem?
If I found that out, yeah, that'd be a bit much.
Yeah. All right. So, and so when they brought this story to me, they said, okay, this guy, the senior member of the Austin Police Department, allegedly was in a, strip club. And while he was there, this young lady who had never met him before said that he gave her cocaine while they're inside the strip club. And so I was like, whoa, this is serious.
Now it just went somewhere. Now, was she aware of the fact that he was a police officer?
According to her, she'd never met him before that night. That happened to be her birthday. And so she was a roommate to the young lady that was dating him, allegedly.
Okay.
And so this young lady who was dating the commander couldn't even drive a car that night because she was afraid that she knew she was gonna drink, and if she drove her car on her vehicle, she had a device that she had to blow into on her vehicle.
Oh, so
this is the alleged girlfriend of the senior member of the Austin Police Department. She had to blow into a device in her vehicle, and she also has an ankle monitor on.
Oh, wow.
So if she consumes so much alcohol, I don't know how she gets around that. She must rig it or I have no idea. And so she has this device on her as well, all because of, substance abuse. And so they go to the strip club this particular night. And this young lady, one of the young ladies I talked to happened to be the roommate. And she said, hey, they went to the club, and she put this all in a sworn statement. And I actually have a copy of the sworn statement right here. She says they went to the club that night, which happened to be, God, I can't even think of the name of the club now. But they went to the club that night, and while they were inside the club, she met, Commander Dusterhoff for the first time.
Okay.
And then while they were sitting there, she said that, according to her, he offered them drinks, of course, provide them whatever drinks they wanted. And according to her, she said, well, it's her birthday. And let's see.
Oh, well, here you go.
Yeah, because I want to put into her words.
Sure.
Exactly, I'm going to make sure I said exactly what she said. So following her comment, she meant jokingly, I observed the unidentified white male send a text message on his cell phone, and while doing so, nodded to Jason Dusterhoff. Dusterhoff appearing to respond to the nod as a signal stood up, stating to me, I'll be right back. Approximately 90 seconds later, Dusterhoff returned to the private VIP booth with a small reddish-orange baggie in his hands. As he threw the baggie, visibly containing a white powdery substance, onto the table, he looked directly at me and said, "Happy birthday." So, according to her, he brought her back cocaine.
Wow. Well, I mean, number one, I guess good on him for providing the party for the birthday,
right?
For the birthday girl. That's mighty gentlemanly of him. But
I'm all for people partying. Hey, it's none of my business.
This is
I'm
America.
not a party pooper. Exactly.
It's America. Do whatever
as long
you
as
like.
As long as you're not harming someone else.
Yeah.
I'm all fine with it. But my problem is,
if he's
a senior member of the Austin Police Department.
Yeah, if you're tooting up and like going home to your kids, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But
what kills me about all this is I've yet to hear anything from the Travis County DA's office.
Yeah,
that's what's killing me.
No kind of and right up around the time that we first made acquaintanceship, Michael was right as one of the Austin DAs himself was straight up embroiled in the controversy of being pulled over like twice over the legal limit. You know who I am, all that kind of stuff. So it seems to be fairly endemic within our police department here in Austin, within the ranks of the city officials like that, where things just don't happen.
So my question is, what would happen if you were in a strip club and you did the same thing and the police walked in?
Oh, if I didn't have money for bond, I'd be in prison. There's no doubt about that.
And see, the funny thing about this statement is this young lady never met him before that night.
Yeah.
This young lady made a sworn statement admitting in a sworn statement that she committed a felony with someone that she'd never met before.
Yeah.
Why would she do that?
Yeah. No real vested interest in doing so.
She never met him before.
Yeah.
Never met him before. She admitted in a sworn statement that she committed a felony.
Yeah.
And then gave this statement to the Austin Police Department this week.
Yeah. And what I found interesting was the fact that they were even saying that if nothing is done, that they would take things as far as the FBI.
They should. Honestly, they should.
They should,
because at this point, I expect somebody should get raided. There should be a lot. Because what would happen? Me, a gun store. I know what it's like to get investigated.
Oh, yeah.
I know what it's like to get inspected by federal authorities. When I get inspected, every single year, unannounced surprise inspection,
yep.
I get 5 ATF agents that walk into my door. 4 to 5 agents. So I know what it's like, unexpectedly. Hey, good morning. Hey, we're from the ATF, and we're here to inspect you. We're going to be here there the entire week. We're going to go through every single piece of paperwork.
Yeah.
It happens every single year with me. So, I'm held to a certain standard. I expect for them to be held to the same type of standard.
Well, and, that's really the simplest way to put it. You can't put it any simpler. They should be held to the same standard. Our politicians should be held to the same standard.
And I'm not even asking to be held to a much higher standard. I'm just saying, hey, what if I did the exact same thing was done here? So you're telling me that, hey, it's okay. I might as well just go to the strip club and start selling, assault weapons, so to speak. I don't even like using that term because they don't exist. But let's just go to the strip club and start selling weapons now.
Yeah, and that kind of brings us into the territory of some of the other things that I think brought about some of the issues in the contract that you're holding in your hand, and that is, of course, some of the topics that you talk about on Come and Talk It. We ourselves go a little bit more controversial on Dudes and Beer. We even get into some conspiratorial stuff. We get into UFOs, all kinds of wild stuff.
And see, this is not conspiracy stuff.
This is all
cut and dry.
It's all cut and dry.
All cut and dry. Yeah.
And that's what's interesting is like I myself
what kills me is if a DA, a district attorney, cannot prosecute a case like this, then we have a problem. Why are we voting for the same people, putting these same people in office, and we're expecting different results? You're never going to get, at this rate, a police officer who does something wrong will never, ever be prosecuted. Yeah. They have proven time after again that an officer can visibly shoot and kill someone. In Austin, a police officer shot and killed a naked young man, naked teenager. At 10 o'clock in the morning and was not prosecuted. Yeah. They couldn't prosecute anything in this town.
There was another one a few years ago where the guy was running away with his hands up and the guy shot him in the back. And that was like a block or so away from the downtown police station.
If you can't prosecute, someone from shooting...
Like even to a worse degree is the situation with the Austin sex crimes unit, and the DNA evidence and the evidence that they're unable to keep properly. Like they've pretty much said, if you've had a sex crime committed against you in the last decade,
you're safe in the city of Austin because they don't know how to test the rape kits.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and it's the DNA evidence is utterly compromised because they don't have a proper storage facility. So
it's sad.
Yeah,
it really it's sad. We're asking is for the district attorney to do her job.
Yep.
We're asking for the police chief to do his job. We're asking for the city manager to do his job. We're asking for the mayor to do his job. There's obviously something going on here. There's some type of corruption. There's something going on when your police chief contacts a witness a day or so, or a few days after they were apparently at the strip club. Why would the police chief contact this witness? That is tampering with evidence. The police chief should not be getting involved in that. You send investigators to do that. And we have a problem when we have law enforcement officers investigating themselves. Yeah. Police officers should not be investigating themselves.
Yeah.
If there's something going on with a senior member of the Austin Police Department, then that police chief should say, you know what? Let's call in the Texas Rangers. Yeah. Let's call in another agency to investigate this. There's no reason for the subordinates of this officer, this commander, to investigate their boss. Yeah. There's no reason for that. That should never happen.
Well, it's a complete conflict of interest.
Oh, yeah. There's a cover-up.
It's an absolute conflict of interest.
And anyone that defends this, and like I said, I'm not anti-law enforcement. No. I'm pro-law enforcement. But I can't expect my employees to investigate me if I did something wrong. We need to have someone else come inside from outside to investigate, to inspect, or whatever, to make sure I'm doing my job. Yep. That's what we do. I don't have my employees do that because they know if they don't decided in my favor, I'm going to fire them.
Yeah. Yeah. Precisely. And it goes beyond, I guess, a protection mentality, and there we go. Yeah, you're safe in Austin basically from any crime. Yeah. Jennifer Drabant says on your timeline.
Absolutely.
And, that's one of the things that we really have to look at is how we go about prosecuting, investigating, everything. When things like this don't go attended to, when they're just set aside, when they become sideline stories.
Right.
That's when we get into dangerous areas as a society.
And now the Commander Dusterhoff has decided to file a lawsuit against me.
Yes.
Because he's saying that I'm, defaming his, I'm defaming him, basically.
How are you defaming him when there's a sworn statement that's a matter of public record?
And there's more. There's more about this story that's coming out, that's going to come out. So this is on the tip of the iceberg here.
Yeah.
By the time I even found out about this, he had already been suspended or put on administrative leave. There we go. He has already been put on administrative leave. So, and this was like well into 30 days after I even found out about this. So I didn't do anything to him. Number two, I never said anything. I interviewed people who said it on my show. Yes. My sources, gave this information. Michael Cargill never said anything.
Yeah.
I asked questions. I asked a question. Someone answered that question.
Yep.
and so you want to sue me because of what they said and say that
you're responsible,
right? Which is not going to hold up in court.
Yeah.
And and his attorney, we'll see. This is all going to come out, and I'm actually going to hold their feet to the fire.
Well, and I think specifically that libel suit is what kind of, I guess, put the spurs into the deal over at the other radio station.
Yes,
that shall not be mentioned. Let's get into that a little bit.
So then, I'll name their names.
Go ahead.
So then, we actually moved our radio station from Talk 1370 to KLBJ.
Mm-hmm.
And we were at KLBJ for a month. And these shows about Dusterhoff, Commander Dusterhoff, happened to be on KLBJ's station. So once these aired, we actually had we had like a babysitter. They had someone in the studio anyway with us.
Oh, sure.
That was on their staff. That was sitting there listening to everything.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, this person afterwards said, "Hey, that was a great show.
Station producer.
You guys did wonderful. That was awesome. People are calling in. That was great." I said, "Hey, did we do anything wrong?" No. I said that, was it on the edge? No, you were fine. It was great. They loved the show. So then, speed forward.
Yeah, because they fast-tracked you to begin with.
Yeah. They wanted me on their station.
Yeah.
They begged me to be on KLBJ.
Yeah.
Because, one, I guess they don't have any people of color on that station anyway, but they wanted me to be on that station. I'm just throwing it out there. And so they said, hey, and they did whatever they could to make sure, I was on the station. The contract that we signed was a nice, easy 1.5-page contract.
Yeah.
And basically the contract was
bullet points.
Exactly.
Bullet points.
The show's going to be here from this time to that time. It's going to start on this date. It will end a year later on this date. It's going to go for 52 weeks. It's a 1-year contract. We're going to do these commercials for you. Your commercials are going to play at this time, throughout the week. Monday through Friday or whatever. On Saturday, it's going to be at this time and whatever. And you're going to have this amount of commercials, 30 seconds, 60 second commercials, whatever.
Yeah.
And it just went through everything. And they said, hey, basically, the only way that we can get rid of you, Michael Cargill, come and talk it, is if you don't adhere to giveaways. So if you make a mistake with giveaways, like if we're telling you, they told me I couldn't give away a gun, which I was upset by that. I said, okay, fine. I can understand.
I can see why their insurance might say something.
Right. So I said, okay, I'll back down. So I can't give away a gun, but I can give away just about anything else. I said, okay, fine. So as long as I adhere to that policy, there's no way they can get rid of me off the show according to my contract.
Yes.
One, I'm a good contract negotiator. There were things on here that I didn't want on here. I had them remove them from here because I don't sign something that initially that someone gives me. I actually read what I'm signing line by line. I actually have my
revolutionary concept.
Yes, I have my attorney read it, and I said, "Okay, attorney, explain this to me like I'm a 3-year-old."
Yeah.
After I read it and I think I understand it, I give it to my attorney because that's what my lawyer is for, my counselor. Okay, now you explain it to me, and so. We went through this and we decided to remove some stuff from this, and then we signed the contract. So then we start the show. We do the show for about, I think we did 4 episodes, I think it was. And then afterwards, the lawsuit comes out. Because of the lawsuit, KLBJ decided that they were going to
amend
the contract and have us sign an amendment. And this amendment is like 3 pages long. Yeah, this is the amendment, the addendum to the contract.
The signature page is as long as the second page of your original contract.
Right. Right. So we're talking 3 pages here. And basically, this addendum says, hey, we want you to basically do whatever we want you to do. And if there's anything you say, anything happens or comes from your show, we want you to retract something, we're going to have you retract it.
Yeah.
We're going to tell you what we want you to say during that retraction. And you have no say-so in this. If you do not say what we want you to say, once we have you retract something, then we're going to cancel you immediately. And I'm like, I'm not signing that. I'm not going for that crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was so much more to it.
And like I said earlier, what amazes me, this is really my first time just glancing over the initial contract. I hope you don't mind me
please
looking at that. But, it really is one of those, there is nothing in here about waivers, nothing in here, which amazes me because this is the paid programming annual contract.
Yes.
This is like the do's and don'ts of your show, what they're going to provide for you, what you're going to provide for them.
And see, people have to understand that when you sign something, before you sign it, you need to make sure you read and understand what you're signing and understand the consequences of what could possibly happen.
Absolutely.
Understand yourself. I know myself. I know the type of person that I am. I know the things that I say. And I know that, I get heated and passionate about certain subjects.
Yeah.
And if I say something, then I mean it.
Yep.
I don't apologize for anything that I say.
And what you're saying is an educated opinion forever and all. I've never known you to be a brash individual, someone to rush to judgment, someone to rush to calling somebody out that you have not actively investigated the issues at hand before you do something.
Exactly.
And it just really surprises me looking at this straight up broadcast contract that none of these other things are in there.
And some of this stuff, I'll be honest with you, some of the stuff in the addendum should have been in the initial contract.
Oh, no, it should have been.
Yes.
It should have been.
Absolutely.
Kudos to you if you negotiated those things being subtracted.
So sad on them, right?
But
so sad, too bad.
I mean, it came down to things like, which are in my agreement with stuff where it's like, hey, if you do things that are like horribly offensive, like we start getting 1,000 like, hey, these guys are racist every week comments, because the manager at Emmis isn't going through and listening to every single hour, every single minute of broadcast, nor is the programming manager.
Correct.
There's somebody out there listening.
Correct.
And should the FCC get complaints, should the station get complaints, investigations will be done.
Correct.
They'll look into episodes.
As long as we don't violate FCC rules. And people need to understand, I am a customer.
Yes.
I'm a customer of Emmis, of KLBJ, or was a customer of theirs.
Yeah.
So I'm not an employee. There's a difference between a customer and an employee.
Yeah.
And so as an employee, they can dictate certain things. But I'm not their employee. Yeah. They're not paying me.
Yep.
I'm paying them. My advertisers are paying them. So there's a certain level of, you're not going to tell me what I can and cannot do versus an employee. So... there's some things that I just I'm not going to stand for.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and especially whenever it comes to the specific language, like over in Clause 5, where it's talking about things that may be libelous. That falls into a large range of stuff.
Absolutely.
That falls into a crazy large range of stuff. That falls into even opinions of things.
And see, what people don't understand is this is not the first time I've been sued, like with Commander Dustoff. I've been sued several times. I'm always probably, every year, I think I'm probably involved in at least 2 lawsuits a year of someone trying to sue me. No one's ever sued me successfully. You know why? Number one, I'm insured for that kind of stuff. I make sure I have plenty of insurance against things like that. And so we always slap them back every time they do it and make them pay for it when they do it.
Yeah.
It's just what happens. And you need to, when you start a business, Make sure you're insured. Make sure that you're covered for everything. Make sure that your owner, your individuals are actually covered under that policy. So when something does happen, you can contact your insurance company and, contact your lawyer and make them pay, for it and actually back you up and support you.
Well, and that's just it, because unfortunately the libel suit is just as libelous. Mm-hmm. That defames you to almost an equal amount. Mm-hmm. And right now, especially in this social media society, I think that people are, number one, way too quick to rush to judgment without looking at facts, without taking in taking things in unbiasedly.
Right.
Purposefully looking at news sources that they wouldn't typically look at.
And speaking of news sources, I'm very disappointed in the local news.
Oh, that's Austin, nowhere.
Because
this story is nowhere.
Yes, because they're not covering this. Yeah. And that is sad. And the people need to be asking, why is the media not covering this?
Yeah.
You have a senior member of the Austin Police Department in a strip club who allegedly, according to this young lady, according to her, gave her cocaine, someone that she had met for the very first time. And then on top of that, there's another young lady who he was dating says, according to her, that he sexually assaulted her.
Wow.
So there's more to this story that's coming out.
Yeah.
So this is all according to their statements.
Yeah. It matters of public record. Nothing
this
that you have
Austin,
done.
Texas, the liberal Austin always wants to talk about #MeToo. The mayor always wants to talk about what's happening in other cities and in other states and stuff like that. But now this is his moment. This is Mayor Adler's time. This is his time to say, you know what? We have a #MeToo in Austin, Texas, right under my nose, and I'm going to take care of it.
Yeah, we're going to make sure something happens with it.
Instead, your district attorney, your Travis County district attorney is the most important district attorney in the entire state of Texas. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah.
You know why?
Well, mainly because he's the DA of the capital.
Right, because that DA, Travis County, has the authority to prosecute an elected official.
Yep.
Out of every DA in the entire state of Texas, that is the most important DA. And this DA, this is just incompetence.
Yeah.
There's totally silence.
Well, and like I said, it's been a curious case since I've moved here, that there has been almost no repercussion for people that are higher up, be it in the DA's office. Whenever we had the DA a few years ago that was straight up drunk on the side of the road, driving the wrong way, and got pulled over. You know who I am? I'll have your job in the morning. Like, oh yeah, and almost nothing was done about that. She just kind of quietly went away.
Right.
From what I know, she still has retirement, everything else. But how are you supposed to be, as you were saying earlier, the person in charge of investigating this kind of stuff,
right? And
you're hip deep in it.
You can't do it. Yeah. There's no way in the world that you can expect for the subordinates of a senior officer. Those subordinates are supposed to investigate this senior commander and find this person doing something wrong and turn that into their boss, say, hey, and expect to keep their job on the force, expect to be promoted, expect to get a raise.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah. Well, and what gets my goat even more, especially in this town of media that we live in, is the fact that as soon as you do a show about that, a libel suit comes about and you're all but dropped from radio.
Mm-hmm. Because they're trying to silence me.
Oh, yeah.
And they're trying to chill my free speech.
Most definitely. Because you were on what is one of the boomingest wide range reach stations in the state of Texas. I drive to Houston regularly, and you can catch KLBJ almost all the way to Katy.
Right.
So that's a large swath of a state.
And see, I'm not going to be someone's puppet. Covered. I'm not going to be a puppet. I'm not going to be someone's
I saw this
house
happen,
Negro. Yeah. So, you're not going to chill my speech.
He had air quotes in there, folks.
Oh yeah, I'm going to say what I have to say, and I'm going to let I have a responsibility, I think, to the people, to my listeners, to speak the truth and and tell people what I think. I'm not saying I'm high and mighty.
No.
I'm not saying I'm some perfect person because I'm not perfect. I'm not high and mighty, but it is what it is. And when I do wrong, then you know what? I'm going to own that.
Yeah.
I will own it. And no matter what happens, the media, someone slapping with a lawsuit, the media says, hey, Michael Cargill, we want to talk to you about it. Hey, I'm here. Let's talk.
Well, and it even speaks to your integrity for the fact that whenever I first approached you about doing this episode, you were like, no, I can't right now.
Yeah.
Like, as much as you wanted to talk about it, like, we could have probably sat on the phone and had a conversation.
And the reason I couldn't talk to you at that time, because my attorney was trying to work it out with KLBJ.
Sure.
And my attorney asked me and said, please, because we did like one video.
I know you so well, Michael, please.
Oh, I want to talk. Trust me.
Stop.
Exactly.
Let me get this figured out first. Please just hold on.
Right. He's like, please don't talk about it. I was like, okay, this is killing me. I was like, okay. So I said, okay, fine. I won't talk about it. I'll be quiet. So I just, I couldn't do any interviews at all during that time frame.
Yeah. And it's hard whenever something like that is actively happening. It's actively happening to you. To sit on your hands, especially as much of a fighter as you are. The veteran that you are. It
opened my eyes to the media in Austin. I actually expected media personalities to come out and look into this stuff and say, hey, something's going on here. This needs to be talked about. Someone needs to investigate this. But instead, the media curled into their little corner and they're totally silent on this subject. Yeah. And I'm not going to let my integrity be in question here.
They possum up real quick, don't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, this is a police officer. And that's not right. This person, instead of them being quiet about this, you need to jump on this person because he should be held to a much higher standard.
Yeah.
Number one, you shouldn't be in those type of places as a senior member of the police department.
Unless you're investigating that place, if you're there doing a lowdown sting or whatever.
Just the mere fact of you being there's something wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much activity that's happening there. A fool knows that there's activity going on there.
Yeah.
And so to put yourself in that situation is just bad decision making.
Yeah, it really did not fulfill a lot of the I care mentality that they talk about, especially with the respect, the ethics, that kind of thing. Because, like you said, we aren't trying to morally hold somebody to an impossible standard. Mm-hmm. It's just that, when you have chosen to go into a public service field, when you have chosen to make yourself a part of the public spotlight in that way and be a public servant.
Integrity.
The integrity is what really has to be there.
The morals.
We see that all the time with public servants. We see it all the time with people taking bribes. I mean, I've even had it on my show, Michael, where people come on, they have some beers, and it's like, here, take your dudes and beer glass with you. Oh, no, I can't do that.
Right.
And it's like, wow.
Yes.
Because they work for the city, and even though they work for the city recycling department, and we're there talking about chickens and the city's backyard chicken program, and they've enjoyed a couple beers with me, they can't take the dudes and beer commemorative glass with them because I might be bribing them with $1.50 pint glass. I'm actually holding an Avengers pint glass right now, not the dudes and beer pints, but same concept. It's the idea of. I'm not giving you like a gift bag like from the Oscars. There's not like a Rolex, and like the keys to a new scooter in there, anything like that.
Right.
It's like a T-shirt.
And until they get serious about things like this, this is what's going to hold them up from getting the contract that they want. Because Austin Police Department is looking for their contract, which they do deserve, because the officers are used to making a certain amount of money. And I think it's wrong for them to lose those type of stipends.
These guys are out doing this stuff, and we don't even have a contract for the rest of them yet.
Right. And they're losing those stipends, that they're used to getting. Imagine you put yourself in that position. Yeah. I'm used to making a certain amount of money, and all of a sudden now my pay has dropped a quarter. Yeah. I'm losing a quarter of what I'm used to making.
Yeah.
a lot of people, you're dead set on your lifestyle is here. You used to your lifestyle being here. When you drop down, something happens that affects your whole family. So they do deserve to have their contract, deserve their stipends, but then we also need accountability. We also need an independent organization to be set up to actually investigate law enforcement and have the power to fire them.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. That should be no question. Yeah. That should be no question at all.
Yeah,
anyone that says, and I've heard some officers say this. Well, we have a special field or a specific field, and the people don't really understand the type of work that we do. You're telling me that you can't get a jury of your peers to sit on a jury?
Yeah,
that's what you're saying. You're saying to me that a jury, there's no jury in this town that you would like to sit, and judge you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're better than you're much better and much greater than having to sit in the courtroom.
Yep.
And to me that's unacceptable.
Yeah. And I think it goes a long way to say that were we to put people through, I mean, and just to kind of split the rail here, with the latest shooting, of course, there's been a huge call for more background checks, heavier gun control, things like that. And one of the things that the host of Gray Matters Radio was asking me was, do you think it would be unreasonable for people who are going to buy firearms to go through like a mental wellness check every few years?
No.
Would
I say absolutely not?
What about our police officers?
Firearms are not the only tools that you
Oh, sure. No.
use to hurt someone, to harm someone.
Yeah.
So unless we're going to do that for everything, we're going to have everyone go through a mental eval to say, hey, you can't drive a car. We don't even do that for seniors when they get to a certain age. Me personally, I have to tell my family members, okay, like my great grandfather, when he hit 95, I said, hey, I'm taking your car away because you make me feel unsafe in your vehicle. We had to take his vehicle away from him.
Yeah.
So we don't do that for seniors. We don't do that for anyone else. Taking their vehicle away, which that is that we're talking a few $1,000-pound bomb right there.
Yeah.
And so we don't do that. So why are we going to do it for other stuff?
Well, and that's I guess that's the point that I'm getting to is how can we assure the fact that the police who are policing us are not on the fringe of society, are not themselves on the cusp of a breakdown, are not themselves embroiled in this kind of lifestyle, doing this kind of stuff on the side.
One, we need to do they need to do drug testing.
Sure.
Need to do hair follicle testing.
Yeah.
That holds them to a higher standard. As a commercial, and I always go back to commercial drivers, truck drivers, they get randomly drug tests.
Yep.
So is there random drug?
They get randomly breathalyzed.
Right. When you're involved in a shooting, there should be a random drug test. A commercial driver is involved in an accident, they do a complete physical. Complete physical on that driver because they're a professional driver and they're held to a much higher standard. And those are the same standards that we should hold, our law enforcement. Yeah.
And that's a prime example that you're talking about with commercial drivers.
That's not unreasonable.
No.
Anyway, if you don't agree with that, then there's something wrong with people that that don't. That disagree with that.
Yeah. And I'm not a proponent of drug testing initially. But as soon as you're involved in an injury, something like that, insurance is going to require that you do that anyway, just to make sure that the person was not under the influence whenever the accident happened.
If you're going to enforce these laws, you need to make sure that you're following these laws.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's been one of my questions for years is why, when people are randomly drug tested, why don't employers randomly breathalyze people when they come into work? Why aren't we randomly breathalyzing police officers to make sure that they aren't drunk from Sunday football? That they weren't out hooting it up at Hooters until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning the night before, and then coming in at 6 o'clock in the morning still still buzz.
Still buzz, right? And they should. And they really should.
Especially with sidearms strapped on.
You're carrying a gun.
All that kind of stuff.
You can take someone's rights away. You can take someone's liberty away, their freedom away, with just very little effort.
Yeah.
Completely deprive someone of their freedom at a drop of a hat.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. One of the shows that my wife and I watched over the last few months was 60 Days In from A&E. And if you haven't had a chance to watch it, check it out. It's very interesting. Basically, the sheriff of Maricopa County, and I believe it was upstate Michigan, was having problems in the county jail where apparently the drugs had gotten so endemic in the prison that people could get drugs easier getting arrested.
Right.
Than out in the street.
Right.
And he was like, there is an issue here. So he put 6 individuals that were from all over the country and straight civilians in as prisoners for 60 days to see what he could find out. Now, nobody at the prison, even guards, knew that these people were civilians. Right. A couple people cracked, didn't make it through 60 days. One of the people who was I want to say a Massachusetts sheriff, but a 25-year police officer, almost 25 years on the force. Come to find out at the end of it, she quit. She quit her job as a police officer
because of that.
Yeah, she was like, after seeing this and hearing these people's stories, like, I was the person on the other side of that, putting them in jail for a minor infraction and utterly judging them on this one circumstance that happened.
And see, she shouldn't have quit. What she should have done is that I say, you know what, this is going to make me be a better police officer instead of quitting.
Yeah,
because it doesn't change anything. You just quit.
Yeah.
So instead, if you're that better, okay, now I want to see what people are going through. This is going to make me a better person. I need to make sure I'm there to help.
Yep.
Because that's why they call them peace officers.
Yeah.
That's why we call them law enforcement. So they're supposed to be there to to make the peace.
Yeah. And you hope whenever you call that number that someone's coming who is there and ready to make that peace, ready to see things from both sides of the fence, kind of mend things. But it really does seem like there's a different attitude with some police officers. And it's hard to control that. It's hard to keep some of that in check. But
there's a chip that's there.
Yeah.
There's an aura that's there. You can see it a mile away with some officers. I actually had an opportunity to do a ride along with an officer a few months ago, and it was a very good experience because it opened my eyes, to the fact that this guy that I did the ride along with was, to me, he was totally different. And I said, I said to myself, and I meant to say it to him, is that way, they should have this guy here as the public relations person, as that person that's standing in front of the media. Because when I see some of them standing in front of the media giving a report and stuff like that, it's like, man, they need to do some PR work. Because they're just not, they just don't see it. When it's not in your heart, they just don't see it. Yeah. They don't see what they're doing is wrong. They don't even realize what they're doing is wrong because that's not their mentality. They're so used to living a certain way and responding a certain way to when the things that they're doing, they just don't realize that they're wrong.
Yeah.
It's
well, and that's the danger is that it's so easy. It's so easy for that story that we tell to become the truth. It's so easy for that one short little lie to become a truism throughout our life that we have to maintain.
Right.
And at that point where you're willing to compromise yourself, where you're willing to compromise what you know is true, to maintain that I think really does sow the seed for a lot of things to go awry, and this is even beyond our peace officers, the people that protect us, and beyond our politicians. This is everybody. There's an interesting study showing that the self-preservation part of your brain and the part of your brain that shows empathy and concern for other people can't even function at the same time. Which is why, if you think about it, especially as someone who served as you did, whenever people ask, like, what was that like for you? And you're like, I don't know. I didn't even think about it.
Right.
Like, one of my wife's favorite stories about us before we got married was she was driving me back to a show in Houston that I had every week at a church, and it was like 5:30 in the morning. The sun was just coming up, just outside of Bastrop, coming in from Austin to Houston, and this car just started kind of dipping a little bit in front of us, and I was like, "Hey, ease back a little bit. This guy kind of looks like he's either tired or drunk, one of the two, if not both." And about that time, as she eased off the gas, he went to the right and just veered left hard, hit the Esplanade, and just flipped end over end like three times.
Oh, my God.
I was like, stop the car. Immediately got out, like was on 911 before the car even stopped, giving him our location and going to try to help people. And she was like, you didn't even think about it.
Right.
You immediately went into emergency mode.
There's certain people that are like that. Certain people that pause, shake, they freeze. A lot of people freeze, and then there's people that when something happens, you're like, okay, all right, we go into survival mode. Okay, now I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do that.
Yep.
And I'll get that. Like sometimes with like some of my employees, something will happen at the shop, and no one knows what to do. They're just totally like, oh, what do we do? And I'm like, okay, hey, you do this, you do that, you do that. I've had a case where someone just passed out right at the counter, and everyone just like, Michael, it's like, well, did you dial 911? No, dial 911.
Okay,
you dial 911. You go outside and you direct them over here when they get here because they're going to be here in about 2 minutes. Yeah, and so now you check on this guy right here. Let's see if he hit his head or something like that. Is he bleeding or whatever? Yeah, so.
And it some of it is rote muscular reflex. Some of it is, having worked with children for years, things like that. But it's interesting to even think about the fact that self-preservation instinct and the instinct to want to help combat so hard within our own psyche that the two can't occupy same space at the same time. Right. And that's something that I think when you really start looking at, like I said, that machination, that cog of lying, that cog of I've done something that would technically compromise myself, but if I let it slide right now, we're going to be all good. Right. Then you at least inside have to maintain the fact that you slid, that you compromised yourself. Right. And that wasn't too hard, wasn't tough. How easy it is it to backslide the next time, to let the same infraction go? At what point do you call the halt to that? And I think that's where we as a society have really gotten off the rails as far as accountability and personal accountability.
I think that, like the problem that we're having with, like, say, for example, the Austin Police Department, you have some people that know some things that are going on. They've done some stuff. This other person knows that they've done some stuff. And so, this person knows where the bodies are buried. Yeah. And so they're afraid to talk about it. And that's why people are allowed to continue on like they are. Yeah. At some point, that's why we need independent organizations to come in to inspect these groups and hold them accountable. And I can't stress that enough. And as a society, we need to make sure that we hold our elected officials accountable. We need to make sure that we hold our law enforcement accountable in the things they're doing. If we do not, then, we're not doing our job as a society.
Yeah. We aren't doing our jobs as civilians and as the watchers of the watchers. Somebody's got to keep an eye on them. Right. And it's technically our job. We're the ones that pay them to be in service. We're the ones that ask them to be in service.
Right. And yes, I know the job is tough. Absolutely. I know in the military, the job is tough, but I expect our military, our soldiers, to conduct themselves in a certain type of way. When you're deployed overseas, you're deployed downrange. If you don't follow procedures, you are prosecuted. You will get UCMJ on back to the States if you don't follow procedure. So I don't want to hear the fact that, our officers work so hard. They're so tired. They have a very stressful job. They're stressed in the military. Everyone's got stress. There are other jobs that are just even more stressful than that. But everyone's held to a certain type of standard. But except over here, we make excuses for this group.
There's a huge case right now going on with a bunch of sailors who apparently got their hands on some LSD on ship, and used some LSD. We were just talking about that last week in our LSD episode, and what's going to happen to them? Like you said, UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
Absolutely.
Whenever you disobey the oath that you took to keep yourself proper,
you're going to be punished.
You're going to be punished.
Exactly.
That's why.
Own it.
Yeah, that's why, there's that whole joke about sailors on leave, because, when they're on ship for 90 days, they ain't drinking.
And everyone knows that, okay, well, all right, I need to make sure I can pass this urinalysis test in every 30 days. Own it.
Yeah.
Own it.
Yeah.
Own it. And there's some other stuff that's happened. We had some shootings happen, right?
Yep.
What shootings do we have happen recently?
Well, I mean, we of course had the Thousand Oaks shooting. Right. That's the one most recently.
The one I'm confused about with Thousand Oaks is, so we had the shooter. How did the fire start? Because that's in the same place.
It's in the same place, but they were already dealing with massive wildfires, things like that, just outside of Los Angeles.
So they
never fully got things under complete control.
All right.
So the two, I think, are pretty well unrelated. But with the Thousand Oaks shooting, I think it was interesting. Number one, we once again, and we haven't really had the last couple military shooters that we had were, I believe, the husband and wife. I believe the husband was ex-military. And then, of course, the Dallas police shooter. But aside from that, this is the most recent where it's been an actual former service member. And to the extent where he was not using a quote-unquote assault rifle or assault weapon.
He used a handgun.
He used straight off the shelf handgun, just well trained, knows how to apparently use some smoke grenades to distract people whenever he came in the location. But it's one of those that he took the time to stop and go onto Instagram and kind of
during the shooting
and taunt society.
Wow. Oh wow!
And be like, "Yep, no real need for me to do this." Like, no real reason. And now, what has your experience been as a veteran with veterans healthcare and with the healthcare system?
It's lacking.
Yeah.
Let's take Austin for an example. I'm a veteran. Mm-hmm. If there was ever a point that I needed to talk to someone, being here in Austin, Texas, now it's after hours right now.
Yeah.
As a veteran, if I wanted to go to the VA and contact the VA and say, hey, I need to talk to a counselor, they're going to refer me to Temple, Texas.
Yeah.
So I need to drive all the way to Temple, Texas to go speak to someone in the capital of Texas, Austin.
Yeah.
I got to drive, 90 miles to go speak to someone else there if I'm feeling suicidal.
Yeah.
And that's
when we have a military base right here in town.
Yeah, it's just unacceptable. Yeah, it's totally unacceptable.
And that's just it. One of the schmarmy comments that I saw, and I've really been trying to stay away from the juxtaposing poke on social media. I've really been trying to examine why am I about to say what I'm about to say to this person.
I don't. I just say whatever I want to say.
Is what I'm about to say going to actively contribute to the conversation? Is it going to? It's not going to make them change their mind.
You're a much better person than I am. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to irritate this person.
Yeah, and I do enough of that with my constant posting on Dudes and Beer with people, where they're like, "Damn, son, you post some shit. Like you post a lot of stuff because I'm a news hound, and it's always in my face."
You post a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff.
Thank you. Because the idea behind this show is to spur these conversations. Right. It is to have these hard conversations. And I think that one that we really have to have in our society right now, like I said, the schmarmy comment was, what caravan did this one belong to? Yeah. Of course, talking about the criminals coming up from South America and the caravan, all that kind of, and it's like, he belongs to the most denied caravan ever. The Marines,
right? The veterans.
Are veterans,
right?
Like the people who, above all else, we should be giving an active crap about,
right?
Like it blew my mind. I was in a hotel, in the bar in LaGuardia, having some breakfast, having a drink before I got on the plane, and the three people around me were like, and the bartender were talking about how it was some kind of holiday on What? It's some kind of holiday on Monday. I don't know what it is, but I know I don't have to work. And I'm like,
wow.
Veterans Day? Oh yeah, maybe that's it. I'm like, oh, wow. No, that's it.
Oh wow,
that's it. Wow. It's Veterans Day. It's one of those like, we'll all remember Memorial Day,
right.
And it's like. Yeah, I'm pretty sure even those dead veterans would be like, hey, how about those dudes over there that are still alive that did all this stuff?
Yeah.
And I always love the fact that you are all over social media, like I said the other day on your post, out in front, loud and proud, forever and always, at the front of the Veterans Day parade.
It's funny you say that. I was yelling and screaming all the way down Congress on Sunday, too. Yeah.
Because, I think veterans are something that we should celebrate. I think that they are probably the most treasured thing in our society.
Because we would not be here today as the United States of America if it wasn't for our veterans. It wasn't for those people that answered the call when the call was given. They picked up the phone and said, "Okay, I'm on my way. I'll be there in a few minutes." And stop what they were doing, and a lot of people are doing jobs that a lot of us are afraid to do, or don't want to do, or can't do, or chose not to do. So we need to definitely honor our veterans, because that's why we're the United States. People say, well, you know what? In the United States of America, you guys should get rid of your guns because guns are a problem. I said, well, you know what? We're not going to get rid of guns because this country was founded on firearms. If it wasn't, the whole purpose of this, of why this country was formed is so, we didn't want to adhere to some other government. We wanted to live on our own and do what we wanted to do. And then, also, guess what? That is why we're the world police. That's why whenever some other country gets in trouble, they dial 911 and call the United States of America.
Yeah.
Because we have the guns.
Well, and, that was one of the very interesting things that a good friend of mine from college, Craig, mentioned on Dudes and Beer the other day when I was talking about gun control and, the fact that at least shootings like Thousand Oaks aren't really an issue of gun control. People have, of course, brought gun control right up to the forefront again, and it's like, no, this is anything. It's really an issue of veterans' health care in this case.
Right.
It was a gun that he legally purchased. It was a gun that you could go to, at least in most states, any sporting goods store and pick up for a few $100s.
If you check out any mass shooting, what you're going to find that all these shooters had in common, number one, they had in common they probably didn't have a father in their life. The majority of these shooters didn't have a dad. The majority of these shooters were on some type of medication.
Yeah.
So there's all these things that are going on, and we're not paying attention to we're focusing on the tool. We're not focusing on, how we got to this point. how did we get to this point where this person used this tool to kill people?
Well,
because it takes a certain mentality to want to kill someone you don't know.
Exactly, and that is something that whenever I was on Gray Matters last night, that the host was talking about. He was like, "What blows my mind is I did an episode the other day with a person who is a naturalized citizen from Mexico City, where they were like." Horrible things happen down there. Like cartels will, and there's a new thing apparently where they dismember them but leave them alive.
The gun control community pretends Mexico doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
When it comes to the murder and the killing that's happening, this country's on our same continent, people. Yeah. It's happening right here.
Well, and the interesting thing that this immigrant was saying
was a few hundred miles away.
When the cartels go after somebody, you know it's because they're a reporter, they're a politician, they're somebody that didn't do what the cartel asked.
Right.
You know, be it the fact that they kidnapped your cousin and they said, "Hey, skim credit cards for us in San Antonio,"
and you said,
and you're
no.
like, "Nope." So then they dismember your cousin and cauterize his wounds and like deliver him to the family's house. You know, that kind of stuff. He was like, at least there we know that it's because you went against the cartels. He was like, for some reason here in this country, you have people that are killing other people for absolutely no reason. And that, I think, is the key. And it's the same thing right now in London. Like, they aren't allowed to own guns. You can go through some extreme measures, get a hunting rifle, get a shotgun, things like that. But as far as conceal and carry, open carry, anything like that,
the more I think about, like, for example, abortion, I'm starting to change my mind on abortion. I'm thinking, we really should take care of the issue on the front end. Because if we don't take care of it on the front end, we're going to deal with it on the back end. Abort the little bastards now. Just cut them off. Just yank them on out right now. Because if we don't, you're going to deal with them later on down the road. Because you're forcing someone to take care of somebody they don't want to take care of.
Yeah.
And that child is going to become a problem if you're a problem child on the family. If you're a detriment on the family, they don't want to take care of you initially. You go throughout your life, then you're going to become a problem in society.
Well, yeah. And the question comes to bear, like we were saying, it's a mentality issue. Like I was saying, the mayor of London has called once again for knife reform because apparently the murder rate is larger than New York so far this year.
Correct.
And like I said, you can't walk into a store and just buy a gun. You can't walk into Academy and walk out with a pistol.
Right.
Like you can here. So what's the issue? Like they're going.
And even if they did have them, they can't use it for personal protection.
They're going through such extreme measures that they're having acid attack issues.
Right.
Acid, like people are procuring acid.
Right.
And attacking people,
which is awful.
Which
disfigures you.
How does that even happen?
You wish you were dead.
How do you we were saying, it's the mentality. There is something going on. There's a switch that's being flipped. There's a lack of empathy somewhere along the line where there is a social disconnect. And you see it all the time on social media where people are perfectly willing to call names, perfectly willing to point fingers because I'm not in the same room as the person.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Right. It's my private Facebook. I can scream into the void. And it's like, yes and no. Even quite a few people on broadcast nowadays are being called to task.
I like social media. I like Facebook. I like Twitter.
Yeah.
Because it tells me where all my crazies are, and I know where they are.
Keeps them right in front of you.
Yeah. I know where they are.
That's it.
So I like social. I love Facebook, love Twitter, love Instagram because it just lets me know, okay, this person is crazy.
Yeah. I'm going to keep at least a tab on them. I don't know that I'm going to necessarily follow and like everything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm like, yeah, at least I know where all the crazies are that are around me.
That's it. And, as things move in our society, it's really strange to even see what we're doing as far as social media, children, that kind of stuff. It's going to be really strange to see where these teenagers end up in 10 or 15 years. I heard somebody on talk radio today who was concerned because he was 30 years old, and one of the only people that he knew that wasn't like insanely down the rabbit hole of propaganda and things like that. And he's like, people look at me like I'm crazy because I'm not into this.
Right.
Like and this is just really like we've just kind of, I guess really the way to put it is really, we've really just kind of started polishing this turd to see if there's something underneath. Mm-hmm. And there is. It's more poop. And I'm here to tell you, you can polish a turd all day, folks. You just end up with poop everywhere.
Right. Exactly.
And that's kind of where we're going as a society. Shiny. It's not going to be shiny at any point. No matter what
you do, it's not going to be shiny.
At any point.
Yes. Absolutely.
And the real issue is that we're still a young country. Mm-hmm. We're still very young in the scope of the world. And quite obviously, we can't be that horrible. If we were horrible, we wouldn't have the, I guess, quote unquote, raging immigration problem that we have.
And we're clearly, in regards to what people want to think, we are clearly the best country on this planet. If we were not the best country on this planet, people would not be walking 100 miles to get to us.
More than 100.
Exactly.
They're crossing
clearly
6, 7 borders below us.
So we're clearly the best country on the planet.
Yeah.
So
I got no problem with that claim. Within the first few hundred years.
Yeah.
And really it is the fact of, what do we have to do? One of my friends says it all the time whenever I share stuff especially from yours, because you were talking today on social media. You posted the article about how there's been a new law proposal for people who print homemade guns to put a serial number on it.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the Texas legislature. I'm concerned about what's going to happen this session. Our legislatures actually go in session every odd year, from January to June, that odd year. And so this is going to be the year, and I'm worried that we're going to have some type of shooting, and they're going to do this knee-jerk reaction and pass some kind of crazy law. So we need to really pay attention to what's going on. We need to be on our P's and Q's, because if something does happen, we need to make sure that we don't pay the price for some crazy person that's down the road because this person didn't have a father, or this person's parents or their family, knew that they were an issue, knew that they were a problem, and didn't get them some type of help or assistance. The rest of the people should not have to pay for that.
That's some of the issue that we face in and of itself is WellCare checks, WellCare Act, things like that. What does it take for a family to force somebody to go get help? Much like the mother of and God, I hate the fact that they call him the MAGA bomber in Florida. And that was a weird and odd case. I don't really want to get into it because that's all, like, rabbits will dig all over this room before we're done with it. But the odd one to that was the fact that I saw no stamp marks on any of those stamps on any package, which was strange to me. But at the same time, he had plenty of time to drive from Florida and deliver them. Plenty of time to do that, even unassisted. It happened over the course of a few days.
But the Austin bomber?
No, the Florida bomber, the MAGA bomber who sent the packages to Hillary Clinton and Robert De Niro and the Obamas and all those folk. So it's interesting even to see that and the reason I got off on that jag was because his mother was like, we've been saying for years he needed help. We've been saying he needed help for years. But we weren't able to do anything. Mm-hmm. Like, he had to go check himself in.
And he's from Florida. They have red flag laws in Florida.
Yeah.
They have laws in place in Florida. They just passed new laws in Florida.
Yeah.
So the tools are there. People just don't know how to use those tools.
Yeah.
We have tools here in Texas. People just don't know how to use them to make sure this person gets themselves some help or something like that. Yeah. You can always involuntarily admit someone into a facility. If you do, guess what? They lose their gun rights automatically because they're involuntarily admitted. So there are things that we can do. There are things that they're definitely tools in Florida because they passed those new laws after the last shooting in Florida. Yeah. And so, with this thing I'm worried about here in Texas with this state rep who's wanting to pass a new law that says, hey, 3D printed guns or guns that don't have serial numbers on them, you're going to have to put a serial number on them. That brings into question now registration. Now we're talking about we're going to have to register our firearms, that we make a tool that we make at home. I make something at home. I'm going to have to register that with DPS, the state police. That's going to create a registry. And now we're talking about the government knows, exactly what I have. And if they want to come and take it later on down the road, they can come and take it. Yeah. And I actually have a problem with that. Yeah. They shouldn't be concerned with what I have inside my house. Once I commit a crime, that's a whole nother story. Yeah. Then you come and take my liberty. You take my freedom away from me once I commit that crime.
Yeah, you can't preemptively do it.
No, this is not, what's the name of that movie? This is not
Minority Report.
The Minority Report where you're going to, let's anticipate what someone's going to do and let's stop them from doing it before they do it.
Yeah,
that's not how we work.
Yeah,
as
where we
society.
have a pre-crime department.
Right. It just doesn't work that way. You're not going to stop. You're not going to do that. So you're just going to get things wrong. And so we're here to make sure, we get it right. And, unfortunately, we're in that society, we're in that place where someone actually has to do something wrong before we go after them and do something. Or there are people, their family members that know that there's something wrong with their family member. You know that Uncle Johnny is crazy. You know Uncle Johnny's got some issues. Then you know what? We need to get Uncle Johnny some help. Stop pretending, stop ignoring, stop laughing at Uncle Johnny and get him some assistance.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just it. People need to be, like we were saying earlier, more empathetic toward each other. We need to have more of a sense of, fealty toward each other, a sense of belonging and responsibility.
Yes.
For each other. Absolutely. And for our fellow man. Yeah, like we said a while ago, those two centers of the brain can't simultaneously. You can have one, you can have the other, but you can't have both at the same time. You can't have the act of self-preservation and the act of self-sacrifice going on at the exact same time in your brain. And we need to learn that preservation of the greater good is preservation of the self. Right. That we need to take care of each other. We need to take care of our communities. Even here locally, it tripped some of my neighbors out. That all of a few months ago, whenever I was home for about a month, I went to put my baby away. It was when I still had chickens before the raccoons got a hold of them.
Oh no!
Yeah, lost my chickens. That was a heartache moment. But I went to put my baby to sleep and came back out to feed my chickens and saw them going crazy over something. And as I went outside, saw that they were going crazy over a 1.5 foot long coral snake.
Oh, wow.
That was in my backyard. So I went and got something to take care of it. And by that point, it had taken off. So I went and did the nice thing. My neighbors have kids that come and hang out. I was like, hey, these things are really pretty and attractive to kids.
Right.
Here's what it looks like.
Right.
It's very poisonous. It will kill your child.
Right.
Above any other snake in the state of Texas or America, this, within 20, 30 minutes of not being treated, they will be dead.
Oh, wow.
Even a grown-up would be dead within 30 to 40 minutes.
Oh, wow.
It's intense. It's the only, neurotoxic snake in North America. It's actually related to the cobra.
Oh, wow.
So, and it just blew their minds, the fact that I was coming by and letting them know that I saw a venomous snake in my backyard. Mm. And we share a fence line.
Why would you not?
Why would I not come tell you? If you got broken into, wouldn't you come tell me, hey, just so you know I got broken into?
Yeah, you would
keep your eyes out.
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't.
But you would think.
It doesn't.
You would think people do that. People are actually embarrassed. You'd be surprised how many people in this town, how many business owners are robbed, how many...
yeah, right next to you.
Yes.
It happened right next to you all of a month or so ago, I remember.
How many people get robbed, things happen, and they don't say anything to anybody. The business that was 2 doors down from us got broken into. He never said anything to us, but we saw that his window was broken.
Of all people to not go tell as a neighbor.
And we pulled up the security camera footage from it. And so thank God. I saved that. And so when the police contacted me, we had that so we could give it to the police because he never contacted us. And so the police called us and they said, hey, Michael, can we get that security camera footage? He said, yeah, sure. And he said, because your neighbor was broken into. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. He said, oh, did your neighbor say something to you? No, he never
I saw the broken front window.
Yeah, he never said anything to us at all.
Yeah.
So
and that's disturbing to begin with. Even more disturbing is to know that likely is the case as an independent business owner, he didn't have money for full security. Anything like that, and more than likely,
what's funny is he's the only
your footage.
He's the only person that gets broken into. He's the only person that doesn't have his alarm system.
Yep.
At the entire suite, he's the only person that ever gets broken into. He's the only person in the entire building that doesn't have an alarm system. So,
unfortunately for you and your cameras that you're legally required to have via insurance on your building, otherwise.
Yeah, you have to make sure that we're supposed to have some type of security. And every year I upgrade my security. This year I upgraded it last year. I upgraded it this year. I'm going to upgrade it even more at the beginning of the year. I'm actually going to take that next step and do something really crazy here. I'm going to test out some new stuff.
Ooh.
So see how that works out.
We'll keep that on the down low so nobody really knows about it.
Absolutely.
And as we wrap things up, specifically talking about that kind of stuff, the holidays are coming up.
Yes.
It's a huge time for buying right now.
Absolutely.
It's a huge time for classes right now.
Yes.
Where can people? I know y'all are always on tight schedule over there. Your classes are constantly full. Y'all started not too long ago a new series of women's gun education courses that I really, really wanted to get my wife Amy in on.
Yeah.
Where can people go to find out more about that? Where can they go to find out more about CHL in Texas through Central Texas Gunworks, things like that?
Yeah, you can go to our website, which is centraltexasgunworks.com. We're on Facebook as Central Texas Gunworks. You can listen to the radio show, comeandtalkit.com. And we do a radio show every Sunday. We talk about a lot of that stuff. We do a lot of classes, the license to carry handgun courses, beginning classes, firearm safety courses. If someone, has to go to court for some particular reason and it's involving a firearm or something like that, the judge may make them take a firearm safety course. And so the firearm safety course that we have, they can actually take that to satisfy the court decision. So definitely come see us because we have a lot of good information. We cover a lot of the laws and everything, and my instructors are really good. We make sure we cover everything. When you leave there, you know what the laws are, you know what the rules are, and so it's just up to you to take that information and go forth and do the right thing.
That's right. And it's really more than anything, it's an education of conscience. It's learning the laws, learning where your responsibility lies. Like we've been talking about all night, learning your level of responsibility and accountability in society around you. And when you take that burden on, there's a reason those guns weigh so much, folks. It's to remind you. There's a burden there. There's a burden there hanging with you.
Always consequences of actions and consequences of bad action.
That's right. And we need to hold people accountable on both sides of the fence. Absolutely. Whenever bad actions happen. We need to laud people on both sides of the fence when good actions happen.
Absolutely. I'll tell you something funny. Let you know as an example that I'm not some perfect person. This morning, I went out with every network in Austin. Fox News, ABC, CBS, Time Warner. Everyone was out at the range this morning at 11 o'clock this morning, and it was cold. It was like 35 degrees.
Yeah.
It's really cold. And that's really cold for Austin, for Texas. So we're at the gun range and we're testing some glass. We were testing this school glass that some of the schools are looking at putting on their windows, which is good. We need to boost up security for schools.
Absolutely.
And that's another topic we're going to talk about hopefully later on a different show. But so we're testing out this glass. And so, the guy gave his speech, whatever. The media's ready. And they said, "Mike, you ready?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm ready." It's like, so my job was to shoot the glass. Yeah. Okay. And so, little small piece of glass, and it was about, 50 feet away or whatever. And so I had to shoot the glass. And so I get there, and I decided I was going to take my brand new gun that I never fired before. So, and so I took this nice gun that I hadn't fired before. I said, let me try this out, see what it's like, So I'm standing in front of the media, and I get ready, and I go to shoot. I'm like, bam, I missed the target. Totally missed the target. Right?
Thank God for post-production.
Oh yeah, totally. And the media, they were hilarious. They were like, "Mike, you want to borrow our glasses?" So I was like, "Okay."
You're all right.
So I had to coach myself. I said, "Okay, Mike, get it together. Get your shit together. You know what to do. Just stick to the basics here and do what you need to do." And so then, the next shot, boom, every shot after that, I hit it, and hit it exactly where I was supposed to hit it. But it was just it was funny because that first shot totally missed the target altogether. Oh, yeah. So I don't know what I was thinking when I was doing. I was probably thinking about the cold and stuff like that. It was just that first shot.
Thinking about 1,000 other things other than what is directly in front of you.
And it shows that everybody's human. Even I'm human. Right. I make mistakes as well. I'm not some perfect person. So,
Well, and that's just it. Even as rote memory as something like, I would venture a guess that shooting for you is about like plugging in a cable for me.
Right.
I do not have to think about it and you're sitting here in the midst of it. Right. I don't have to think about this wiring path that you see behind me. It's all in my head.
Right.
I know every single sound that could possibly happen. But even then, even with all that situation, like we have 2 mics in front of us right now because last night we had an equipment failure. And it's like all this equipment and one little thing will send an entire show awry. So, yeah, it's like it happens. We all have a bad day.
Right.
It happens all the time. The question is, what can we do to keep that bad day from becoming somebody else's bad day?
Correct.
What can we do to keep our bad day in check, to keep our anger in check, to keep society itself,
right?
Not necessarily at arm's length, but with a better sense of responsibility for self.
Absolutely.
What can we do to keep ourselves accountable? And
hopefully we love each other. We take care of each other. We do the right thing. We protect each other, and continue to be a better society.
Same belief, different belief, doesn't matter.
We are the best country on this planet.
We're all human. That's what it boils down to. Michael, thank you so much as always for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
I can't thank you enough. While you are online checking out the great stuff at Central Texas Gunworks, checking out the great show Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill at comeandtalkit.com. Please make sure to stop on by the Dudes and Beer podcast, dudesandbeer.com, as well as our parent network, HC Universal Network, where you can find all the great shows like Gray Matters Radio, as well as Yes But Why, Talking Sound, John Bound Politics, all kinds of great stuff. Michael, once again, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Absolutely.
Until next time, everybody, if you can't be good at it. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Dudes and Beer podcast. To listen to our audio streams or chat with us live, download the official Dudes and Beer app for Android and iDevices, available on Google Play and iTunes markets. For more episodes, content, and information, visit us online at dudesandbeer.com. You can also find our episodes on Breach.tv, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast service. Dudes and Beer is a proud member of the HC Universal Network family of podcasts. For more about our sponsors and other podcasts on this network, visit hcuniversalnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time, drink responsibly.